Mulligan and Kerry.
Good evening. Hey, y'all. Lord, I can't never get this stuff right. I'm always have different headlines everywhere. I apologize for that, y'all. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Orange Blossom Classic game recap. Let me see. I'm excited, y'all, because we are getting ready to go through this game. And all I have to say is,
how you gonna fix it? You done messed me up to tell this business. I done called the police because I'm doing a refund. A refund is due unto me. Don't feel like I just been abused out here today. God ain't pleased like this. You can't do the Saints like this. Boy, I don't even know if I'm gonna sit out here telling the police car. I'm gonna sit out here telling the police car. I'm doing a refund. Cause I'm doing one to me.
so we're going to go over it. I want everybody to keep in mind that this particular game, I don't have a dog in the fight, meaning I'm not going to say anything that's necessarily biased towards one or the other, right? So just be mindful of that when I'm talking. I don't want anybody to get in their feelings or feel some type of way. Please don't do that. Please don't. Okay. All right. Let's get into it. So, game recap. Alabama State predicted order of finish first in the SWAC East, right? That's who we're supposed to send to the Celebration Bowl. And we have a lot to talk about, right? Because out the gate, it was some weird play calling going on, and I couldn't figure out what exactly it was. And I'm still a little bit confused. I have a idea of what it might be, and I don't want to necessarily hurt anybody's feelings or make somebody feel some type of way when I do this breakdown of what I saw. And first of all, I wanted to give a shout out to HBCU Plus, and also our premiere Around the Block, that premiere today at 12 p.m. Eastern. There will be I guess they're going to rerun the show tomorrow. So when I get that time, I'll let you guys know. In case you missed it, Ken Clark, Mike Reed, Zoe Phillips, and I had our premiere of Around the Block at the Orange Blossom Classic Fan Fest. So, interesting enough, it is what it is. It is what it is. I just want for folks to not be mad at me, right? I don't want you to be mad. Don't be mad, okay? I'm gonna pull up the stats. You can't be mad if they're stats, right? If I pull up the stats, you can't be mad. So let's do that. So let's talk about the good things about the Orange Blossom Classic. They have an amazing fan fest with a lot of different sponsors there. So amazing. Wells Fargo was there and a whole bunch of other corporate sponsors. And they had different activities and giveaways, and they had a concert. Absolutely amazing. Not amazing is the rain. Like, I'm surprised my hair actually turned out as good as it did as far as like my actual leave out, because it was so much rain in Miami. It was ridiculous. All right. How many of y'all predicted that North Carolina Central would take this game? If you predicted that North Carolina Central was going to win this game, please comment in the chat. Why I didn't get the memo? Why I didn't get a memo? Why I missed it? Why did I miss it? All these folks saying that they predicted that. So basically, everybody except for me, I thought Bama State had it in the bag. So, Mr. Walker, the reason why we care is because Alabama State is in the East. So, here's how I look at all these different games when I watch them. I look at them as scouting games, right? This is a chance for me to look at your offense, look at your defense, see how your quarterback works under pressure, see how your offensive line adjusts to rushing, see how well the quarterback handles a blitz, right? I also look at the defense, whether or not they soft in the middle, whether or not you can have some rushing, be able to get your running back in there. Because even though Alabama State lost, North Carolina Central couldn't stop the run for the quarterback. So there's a lot of teams back at home at the MEAC. They're going to exploit that. For folks in the SWAC, we look at Alabama State and we see, wow, they have this weird dual quarterback system going on. They put in Andrew Body and O'Brien in at the same time, and they were, I don't know what that kind of call that was. One time he was a wide receiver. The next go around, it was the other quarterback. So that type of trick play, that probably should have been concealed until the third quarter when they were in the red zone. That would have been the perfect opportunity to run that particular play with Andrew Body and the second quarterback. That would have been the perfect time to run that particular play. In the beginning, there was absolutely no reason whatsoever to run that play. That play should have been reserved for a time where they were fourth and long, or not fourth and long, third and long, or in the red zone. That would have been the perfect play for that. But just when they ran it, it was like, what are you guys doing? Right? All right. So, um, North Carolina Central had Harris, or excuse me, Walker Harris, and of course, Coach Trey Oliver spoke on Walker Harris and said that he was more than ready and more than capable. We can break down his level of play. I feel like he started out really well. The Alabama State defense got to him, and yeah, that. So let me go ahead and read these stats. So Walker Harris, he had 9 completions on 18 attempts for 119 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 34 long was his longest pass, and 2 sacks. So I feel like this particular quarterback, what do y'all think? I don't know. Not all world necessarily a quarterback. He's probably a game manager, what we call a game manager. I feel like the defense got to him and shook him up a little bit. That Alabama State defense. Now let's look at Alabama State's passing. Andrew Body had 4 completions on 6 attempts for 27 yards. His longest throw was 14 yards, and he had 1 sack. Jonah O'Brien, I don't know if it's because he's not a dual threat quarterback or maybe because he looks like a deer in headlights whenever he gets pressured. He had 5 completions in 11 attempts for 61 yards, 2 interceptions. His longest throw was 45 yards, and he had 4 sacks. So, what do I see? Neither one of the teams have a quarterback that has at least 20 to 30 throws a piece. Well, Harris Walker had 18, but he only completed 9. So what does that tell me? These quarterbacks are not necessarily effective passing quarterbacks. Or is it the offensive line's not holding up? What is it? Okay. So here's my theory on why Coach Eddie Robinson, which I do have the ability to do. Well, I think they're going to do the coach's call on Tuesday. So, and you guys make sure I'm going to post a link so you can submit some questions for some of the coaches this week so that I can be on the coach's call. But I really feel like during summer camp and fall camp, the coach basically sees Andrew Body and sees what he can do. Efficiently, he can definitely run the ball, right? He's very shifty. He's amazing at evading tackles. But when it comes to the passing, lackluster. So I feel like O'Brien maybe when it came to passing, he won out with the passing, but not with the shiftiness and with the run game. And I don't necessarily want to speak on Andrew Body being injured, but I did notice that he was holding his wrist or his hand when he was going to the tent. How you doing, Mr. Ford?
Hey, Mr. Mona, how you feeling?
Mr. Ford, I have been up since like 6 o'clock in
I
the morning,
know, I know you had a long day.
but I just had to get my thoughts out, right?
Uh,
Get them out
yeah,
because we can ready to go right on into week 2. See, this is the thing. You have so much stuff going on in week 1, and then after Tuesday, you're on to week 2, and what's the next steps? So did you have a chance to? Are you watching the Tuskegee game?
no, I just got in the bed. I was watching LSU and I think it was LSU and Southern Cal, and I was watching Tuafo, the tennis player, and then I got on in the bed because I knew you were coming on, so I'm just
Well,
on
Mr.
listening
Ford,
to
let
you.
me go ahead before you go to sleep and nod off. I need to get your thoughts on Alabama State because this is the team that is preseason gonna win the SWAC East.
Okay, well, let me say this first before I start on that. I'm hoping and praying that they will not have another Orange Blossom Classic without FAMU. That's number one. Number two, from what I saw today, Cornell Maynard is gonna clown on Alabama State here. He gonna beat them bad. I don't know if Quentin Ross has the guts to do it, or does the alumni have the guts to do it. But they need to call Eddie Robson to the carpet. The problem I saw today, your defense looks good, making adjustments, your special teams look good, and your offense is a dumpster fire. The person that is responsible for all of that is Eddie Robinson, and he needs to be called to the carpet. You've had since January, I think the body kid arrived in Montgomery in January, and you have not put together 15 plays for him that will make him look good. And then you had the nerve to have this kid who had 130 something yards rushing on the bench, and you talking about it was a battle between him and that kid at the best. That O'Brien kid is a backup. He's a backup at best. This kid comes off the bench and he scores 2 touchdowns? He puts you back in the game, and then after he does that, you sit him back down? Listen, either Quentin Ross needs to call him to the carpet. If he can't do it, the alumni need to call him to the carpet, or the student body. Somebody got to call Eddie Robson to the carpet. Because the way that team tonight, all that dysfunction going on that offense, that's Eddie Robinson's fault. I know some of y'all going to be out. Well, what about the offensive coordinator? That's Eddie Robinson's fault. He the head man. You done had that kid in Montgomery since January, and your offense look like that? It's obvious you got to design the offense for him, not him trying to fit into the offense. He's a 2-progression quarterback. Actually, Andrew Body, to me, before I call him a quarterback, he really is he's an athlete. And what you do with him is you give him, when you call the pass, and the number one thing is he showed you tonight he's totally uncomfortable in the pocket. You got to roll him. You got to boot him. You got to sprint him out. You got to move the pocket. He's uncomfortable in setting up in as a pocket passer because he's too impatient. So what you do with him when you call the pass play, you call it to the pass play to whatever you want to throw to. If he doesn't see us there, go to the backside for the deep pass. If that's not there, take off. That's the kind of quarterback he is. Okay? And let me just say this, and y'all know I hate to admit this, but from what I saw this week, the MEAC coaching is a whole lot better than the SWAC coaching I saw this week. The MEAC is ahead of us when it comes to coaching.
You got too much dip on your chip.
Okay.
Norfolk State lost. South Carolina State lost. What you talking about, Mr. Ford?
You just heard what I said. But they're better coached. They're better coached. I watched. Now, the team that I looked at this weekend that I think possibly, I don't know if they're going to keep this up, but one of the best teams I saw in the SWAC West was Texas Southern. They were organized. They were disciplined. I knew what they were trying to do. I saw them close out the game. Listen, usually if a team is organized and disciplined in the SWAC, they do very well. And I saw that. Now, Prairie View has gone totally backwards. I keep telling y'all. And you remember Doc tried to argue with me last year about it. They need a defense coordinator. But they're totally lost with that new offense coordinator. The guy that I like, Coley, he's off. His accuracy is off. I don't think they really, it's going to take them a little time to adapt to that offense he's trying to run. I watched Southern, and when I turned to the game, they were leading 7-0 and was playing decent. The fourth quarter comes around, and Southern act like they just forgot how to play football. But now, listen, I know people going to blame them players, but I'm going to blame the coaches first. because the fourth quarter came and Southern just totally collapsed. I mean, didn't nobody call a timeout. No adjustments was made. They just scored 21 unanswered points, I think it was. I might be wrong on that. But I think they scored 21 unanswered points. And ain't nobody called timeout yet. Yeah. What I'm going to do this week, if I get a chance, I might try to do it tomorrow. I want to watch the Hampton, Morgan State game. I want to see that. And hopefully I get a chance to see the Howard Rutgers game just to see. I think,
Mr. Ford, you done really had some about face about a lot of this stuff. Like,
well, listen, you have about
that's what
face when you
happens
get
with
a chance to see
preseason, though.
things
You
like I
think
saw
that it's gonna
today,
go one
like
way,
I saw yesterday and today. Yeah,
and
you have
then
about face.
everybody has their preseason poll. Everybody says how they feel like
Well,
something should
preseason doesn't
be.
matter now. The preseason is talking. That's all preseason is, talking. Now the rubbers hit the road. We've got a chance to see some things. And that's why I say I never thought that Alabama State would have all that chaos and confusion like I saw today. That was ridiculous. And I'm telling y'all now, the person that needs to be called to the carpet is Eddie Robinson. Because ultimately, he's responsible for that team. You got all this coaching, all of this organization on your defense, even on your special team, and your offense is a dumpster fire, starting with that offensive line that is pathetic. And you can't tell me at Alabama State in Montgomery, Alabama, you can't get better players than that. And I don't even know what they're doing. I really don't. I don't understand nothing. Now, one thing I had to give Jay Walker credit for today, and he said it several times. Why in the world are you taking Andrew Body out the game and sitting him down?
Maybe he was tired from all that running. They was
Listen,
running him like an RB1. He was
Miss Timona, you don't mean that. I know you don't. I know you don't mean that. Now, the only time at the end of the game, he came, he was holding his hand. I think his hand was injured. Yeah, I could see it then. But listen.
He was grimacing a couple of times when he got tackled now.
Now, one thing about him that I saw today is, even in that chaos and confusion, and he plays well in chaos and confusion, he's a threat because when the play breaks down, he can make it a plus yardage. That's one thing, because that was a play when he scored, I think, that second touchdown. I thought he was just trying to get the first down. He turned that into a touchdown run. But to have him going in and out of the game, and you bringing in O'Brien,
maybe that's because, okay, so let's just look at the stats. The stats say that Andrew wasn't doing passing yardage. He only passed for 27 yards.
yeah, but let me tell you something. Ain't but one stat important. That's W's and L's. All that other stat stuff is overrated. Ain't but one. That's the only stats that's important. W's and L's. That's what's important.
Well, we had got a big fat L then, huh? On the
Oh yeah.
SWAC. I felt like it was SWAC MEAC 2.0. I really did. For a lot of reasons, FAMU was able to pull out the game against Norfolk State. And so I feel like North Carolina Central playing Alabama State, it was almost like a MEAC SWAC challenge all over again, because the last couple of years, the Orange Blossom Classic has had 2 SWAC teams. So, I feel like definitely, absolutely that it was a MEAC SWAC challenge 2.0. I do commend Andrew Body for putting them back in the game, right? Because if you're going to look at the totality of the game, for it not Andrew Body, they would have been down, right? Because he was responsible for those 2 rushing touchdowns. But it's kind of like you get a sense that the offensive coordinator who, by the way, I want to say he's from North Carolina A&T, ain't he?
For
I want to
who?
say that
Yeah. You're talking about it.
Alabama State.
Yeah, he worked at A&T
That's a
for.
MEAC. That's a MEAC offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but listen, wait a minute. Listen to me again. They got to redesign that offense to fit body. Okay, he's an athlete playing quarterback. Okay, and what you got to do with him? He's not a drop back type passer. You sprint him out, you roll him out, you bootleg him, and you give him two progressions, and then you turn him loose. In other words, when you roll him out, you let him know. If you don't feel like you can make the throw, or if the person's not open, take off. That's him. That's him.
He's gonna do that anyway. I mean,
Well,
that's what he was doing. He was uh,
yeah,
dropping
but
back.
yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. He doesn't need to be dropping back. He needs to be sprinted out. He needs to be rolled out. He needs to be booted.
Mm, mm, mm. Mr. Ford, how they gonna fix it?
Well, they got to go back to the drawing board. Yeah,
No, they got Miles.
what,
You know
what
they got
else?
Miles College.
What? They got what now?
Miles College. If Miles College beats Alabama State again, they might be asking for his head.
Hey, like I said, I don't know if Quentin Ross can do it. I don't know if the alumni can do it
But why
or if
are
the
you guys
student
putting
body.
it on Eddie
But
Robinson? Why is it
yeah,
not on the
because
OC?
he's the head man. It's just like a principal. When something goes wrong in the school, the principal is ultimately responsible because he's over the school. The way that offense looked tonight, he's responsible because he's the head coach. Now, here's the thing. Can anybody hold him responsible? Can anybody call him to the carpet? Because he needs to be called to the carpet.
I don't know what you mean by hanging in the carpet unless you mean they're going to call him in to have a meeting or something.
Without a doubt. We need to know. You go and get Andrew Body. You've had him since January, and this offense look like this. Yeah, that's right. Somebody's got to account for this. We need some explanations. Yeah, we need some explanation.
They said that the attendance wasn't even 10,000.
Like I said before, hopefully these people in Miami realize don't have another OBC without Florida A&M in it.
We don't
That
know that.
silly
Florida
woman is gone.
A&M.
Larry Robinson is gone. Go up there and talk to them people.
I hope you know that that attendance that's been so good for the past 3 years that it really is Jackson State. I ain't trying to brag, but in all seriousness, it really is Jackson State. Like FAMU and who? Tennessee State? FAMU and who? Who would you put in for the lineup for FAMU?
Right
FAMU and
now,
who?
I'd have to see the
Because
schedule.
Jackson
I'd have to see
State's
the schedule.
not. Just name a team that you think would even possibly bring in any type of numbers. It's just not.
Southern would bring numbers. Southern would bring numbers. Grambling would bring numbers because of their name. If you were to bring Tennessee State and FAM, I think that would bring numbers.
Sorry, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think that people are resting and hanging their hat on FAMU being the attendance. They didn't even have
yeah.
FAMU versus South Carolina State sold out at their home field advantage. They did not have, and that was a
But
really
that
big
ain't got nothing
game.
to do with the Orange Blossom Classic, Mr. Bone. That ain't got nothing to do with that. That's what happened in Tallahassee last night. But I'm just saying, it's a waste of time to have that game down there, and you talking about 10,000 people.
I mean, Tennessee State's not bringing. See, this is the thing when you say 10,000 people. If FAMU brings 10 to 11,000 people, then those other teams will bring 2 to 3,000 people. Like, it's just not,
No, I think
there's only,
Southern would bring more than 2 to 3,000 people. I think they would bring more. I definitely think Southern would bring more than that.
we're not, yeah. So we're going to show folks how it's done next year in Chicago. Ooh, boy, it ain't going to be no less. It's going to be no less than 40,000 people at that game. The Chicago Classic, Jackson State versus Hampton. We gonna show you how it's done.
Yeah, I'm glad that's scheduled. That should be a big. That's that would be SWAC football on the road. That's a good thing.
So, did you see all of my picks for this week, Mr. Ford? I'm gonna read them
No,
to
you
you, and
got
you
to
let
tell
me
me
know.
about them.
Okay, so
You got
these
to
are the
tell me
picks
about
that I had. Well, I told you about the Valley one, right?
them.
So here are my picks for this week. This is what I picked. I
Right.
picked South Carolina State will beat FAMU. Prairie View will beat Texas Southern. Valley will beat Tennessee State. Southern will beat McNeese, and Alabama State will beat North Carolina Central. How did I do?
Okay, the one I was concerned about was when you said that Mississippi Valley was going to beat Tennessee State. I was kind of puzzled. I was
They
trying to figure out, were you under the influence when you said that? And then I was trying to figure out what made you say that.
well, I just felt like they've gotten better, and Valley did put up 21 points against Tennessee State. So
And what did Tennessee State have?
41.
Okay. So was that a blowout?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Jay, you see how Mr. Ford is over here doing me?
What did I do? I'm
That
just
man said
asking.
under the influence. I can't.
Oh my gosh. I went
Hey
five
there,
for
Mr. Ford. How
five.
you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Wait, can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
can
hear you
hear you.
well.
Okay. I'm not gonna
Let me
delete the
tell you
live this
about
time.
these bands.
I,
Let me tell you
I'm
about
not
these
gonna delete the
bands,
live.
y'all. Please don't. Let me tell you about these bands. It was not like the battles that I'm used to seeing. It was not battle worthy. And then Alabama State left for the fifth quarter. They were not there. They
Oh, they didn't
disappeared.
stay?
No. Isn't that like a violation?
Well, it's Bama State's band, one of the top bands in the SWAC.
Yes. I mean, in the grand scheme
Oh,
of things, when we talk about
okay, so out of
battling,
12, they rank where? Because I've never known. Well, I mean, we always hear Southern Fam, Jackson. Who else? I've never known Bama State's
Texas
band to get
Southern.
accolades in the top 5 or top 4. You?
That is a cultural violation of rules for them to leave like that. It was bad. I was like, where did they go? So then you had North Carolina Central acting like they was blowing somebody down. I'm like, chill. There wasn't nobody to go against. So they played Dirty Diana and I was like, okay, y'all team won. And I was like, this is the part where we're able to say, well, at least our band won. I look
Well,
over to the stands and it's empty.
let me say this. I saw 2 bands perform today, and they got to be in that top 5, and that's Texas Southern and Prairie View. Those bands
Prairie View.
yeah, especially Texas Southern. Texas Southern sound. I was watching them today on
Are
Plus.
you
They
under the
sounded
influence?
good, huh?
Are you under the influence?
Yeah, I
Because
think
one
them bands. Listen, I'll pick Texas Southern over Bama State, and I'll take Prairie View over Bama State. Band. I'll take,
Hey, you know
huh?
who we missing, Mr. Ford? You know who we missing?
Who?
Prairie View versus everybody. Lionel
Well, they
Mosby,
can
the
cut
one
that
that's
out
always
because, listen, they were
he
outclassed last
disappeared.
night. They were outclassed last night. We
Coach,
talked
this
all of
is
that trash about when Texas Southern, didn't pick Fred McNair and did all, waited all that time to pick that new coach. I think that guy got a plan. I'm sorry. I might have to apologize for that because I was
yeah.
impressed with what I saw today.
So this is my point. To my point. So week one, it just kind of like blew everybody's predictions out the water. So Alcorn State, I think they scored 3 points this past weekend or this past week. Yeah, this past week. And then their quarterback had like 4 yards. Prairie View, with all the mess talking that they've been doing and bragging rights and stuff, they get their tail whooped at home for the Labor Day Classic in the stadium that they own. They get whooped. Grambling loses really bad to the Cajuns. We're
Well,
gonna
that was
see how they
expected.
adjust.
That was expected.
Southern, you know,
Oh, they just blew the game. I mean, the fourth quarter, the people said the beginning of the fourth quarter, they just forgot how to play football. They stopped coaching and they just blew the game. And ain't nobody said, well, let's get a timeout. Let's do this. Let's nothing. Just blew the game.
UAPB. It was just a rough week. They had what 60, 70 put on them. And then Texas Southern is like, so Texas Southern is first probably in the SWAC West right now. They
Well,
probably
they looked the
first
best.
because
They
they're
looked the
only
best. I haven't seen Alcorn, but they look the best out of what I've seen. I mean, they're organized and they're disciplined.
and that
Yep,
makes a
Texas.
difference, right?
Yep,
Listen,
Texas Southern is first and West.
yeah,
They are.
usually if your
Yep.
team is organized and disciplined in the SWAT, you do well. You do very well.
Yep. So I'm so glad they update these so quickly. They have these already updated, and that loss or that win just took place. So right now it has Texas Southern is 1-0, and then of course Florida A&M is 2-0, and then everybody else just got a whole bunch of L's on there. But Florida A&M's uh, money games are coming.
Yes, next week they got to go to UM. They got to go to Miami. And UM looked outstanding against Florida this week. Man, they look good. They definitely playoff
It's
bound.
I definitely saw, which I can't show it because they'll flag my live. There was a Southern botched punt, and then the punter kicked it into the end zone. Why would they kick it into the end zone? To try to make it go on the 25? Like, what is the rule with that?
Well, I think he was trying to keep them from doing a scoop and score.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Cause
Yeah,
I had saw that McNeese was like that was almost close to catching the ball, and they would have did that. They could have scored on them.
yeah,
So
they
I
would
think that's
score.
why he
That's
kicked
why
it
he kicked it out.
out.
They said, are y'all taking Texas Southern over Graham? I haven't seen what Gramblin's about. But September
Hey, the sky's the
21st,
limit.
baby.
Listen, let me tell you something. For Texas Southern, from what I saw last night, the sky's the limit. Uh, this guy's
Chris
is
Gibson
brought his
said, y'all
staff.
gonna stop disrespecting us. And he said
Who's
he's
that?
not putting up with no more disrespect. The coach, he said,
Oh
folks have
yeah.
been counting Texas Southern out, and he's here to show y'all that it ain't that.
Well, I'm looking forward to following him the entire season because I was impressed for that. What I saw. He and the coaches on the same page. I was impressed with Texas Southern last night.
So, based off of the SWAC play this week, uh, go ahead and give me your order of your rankings for this week, Mr. Ford. so that by Thursday we'll be able
I don't
to
know if I
be
can
right.
put a ranking together, but I'm gonna say this. From what I saw,
So
FAMU is the
Texas
class of the
Southern.
SWAC. They're the class of the SWAC. And then Texas Southern is the team that looked the best for me out of them teams. Now, I haven't seen the film on Alcorn, and I haven't seen the
They
Grambling
only
film.
scored 3 points.
You heard me what I said? I said I haven't seen the film, but what I'm going to say is the best team that I saw out of the SWAC West was Texas Southern. Now, that's all, as far as I can go. Now, I like I watched Jackson State for, I think, almost 3 quarters. Okay. And I like some things I saw. I think that this team is better than last year's team. Okay. But I do feel that there's some things that need to be cleaned up on that defense. They're an opportunistic defense. Now, one of the things I saw that guy from Alabama State do today on defense, I'd like to see Jackson State do that. He came out of the standard 4-2-5 and he went to a 6 and a 7-man line, and he basically was telling North Carolina Central, you gotta figure out who's coming. And when he did that, because of the pressure they were bringing, it nullified Central's quarterback. That's something I would like to see Jackson State do instead of wasting time talking about a 3-3-5. Okay,
Can you
come with a
wait?
6 or
Can you
7-man line.
repeat that for me? You said 6 or 7 on the
Right.
line.
What they did, they walked up 6 and 7 men to the offensive line. I mean, on the defensive
What
line.
would that be? 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive
No, he
ends, a
had
nose
6 people
tackle.
standing up. He had 6 people standing up. But here's the thing: he wasn't rushing all of them. You had to figure out the ones that were coming, and it caused their offensive line. Because if he hadn't made that adjustment, listen, Central was getting ready to blow them out of there. If he had stayed in that basic 4-2-5, they were going to blow them out. They were going to blow them out. But when he brought that pressure and he made that offensive line have to figure out who's coming, that kind of nullified. What's that quarterback at Central's name? Is it Walker? What's his
Walker
name?
Harris.
Yeah,
Walker.
they nullified him. One thing that
I
you
was
can
gonna
tell
say
about him,
after he got sacked 2 times,
yeah,
it
he
was
can't.
really over with.
He's not dual threat. He can't get away from the pressure. And one thing George Allen used to talk. You know about George Allen? Do you know who? Okay, George Allen at one time was considered the defensive coordinating guru before the coming of Buddy Ryan. He at one time was the defensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. He became the head coach of the LA Rams, the Washington Redskins. Well, one of the things he used to talk about is a delivery sack. And he said, sometimes you can put a lick on the quarterback, even though you don't sack him, and it messes with him mentally. That's what Alabama State did to Walker Harris today. A couple of times they didn't get him, they didn't sack him, but they hit him. They put a delivery sack on him, and it affected him, and it affected his play and his effectiveness.
I hope TC opens up the book versus Southern. I feel like we're gonna get some more vanilla offense this next week with Lane College.
Yeah, y'all should run over Lane College. You should run over Lane College, and you can be as vanilla as possible. Now, if we're gonna struggle with Lane College, I got some questions.
What about Alabama State and Miles College?
I'm waiting to see it. I'm waiting to see it. Now, one thing is
Well,
obvious. Well, let me just say this. One thing that's obvious. Eddie Robinson is basically learning on the job. Trey is a championship coach, and Eddie's got the, he doesn't have the experience because looking at Central's coaching staff and looking at Trey today, he has far more time in as a coach than Eddie does. and it was so obvious today. Like I said, Eddie is he's learning. Trey's a champion. He's a championship coach.
So, Coach Robinson turned the program around, and then he had a 7-win season last year, and of course there was the prime era. So my question is, um, how much more of a learning curve do they have
Oh,
for
it's the way that offense looked today. I mean, kudos to the defensive staff, kudos to the special team staff, but that offense, that dumpster fire, oh yeah, it's a lot to be learned. It's a lot to be cleaned up.
So the only thing that I would say is that we don't have a good grasp on a couple of offenses and defenses. So they just get a pass this week. So one of them is um, head coach Mickey Joseph and Grambling. So because he played the Raging Cajuns,
Uh,
we don't have a fine tune on how good they are. Another one is UAPB, right? They played Arkansas and got demolished. So we don't know,
no, we don't.
how well um Alcorn. We just, we don't know. The only team that you were really able to evaluate, and I wouldn't even say that we know for Jackson State because I feel like Coach TC pulled the playbook back and just wanted to come out of it injury free because in Texas State, when we put up those 34 points, Jason Brown was hurt, our punter was hurt, and we got like a ton of injuries, right? So maybe he just decided to start calling and playing it safe, so as to not get any injuries. That's the only thing that I can think of. Don't
Well,
want any more injuries.
like I said,
So
we'll see. We'll see. I don't. We'll
I
see.
have a feeling that these week zero predictions are going to change heavily. I know for me, I had Alabama State second in the SWAC East. I still think that the jury is out on FAMU because the two teams that they did play were two. Well, Norfolk State is at the bottom, the second to last, and they might actually be in last, right? Because Delaware State pulled out a win against Sacred Heart. And then you have South Carolina State, who's rebuilding. So we're not actually going to be able to see what FAMU has until when? Alabama A&M, because they have two money games back to back. We're not going to be
You
able to
know
see.
what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even think Alabama A&M is better than South Carolina State. I got to see them, but I don't. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I saw a lot of pluses with that South Carolina State team to the point that I could see them winning the MEAC and appearing in the Celebration Bowl. Um,
This year?
yes, the biggest thing the thing that I know from just being around Chinnisberry, I know that next year he will have bigger wide receivers. He will have the 6'4", the Shannon Sharp type looking wide receivers next year. I know he will. And the other thing I know is that he will add at least 4 to 5 more defensive linemen. I know he's going to do that because he's the kind of person when he takes out the first string or takes out a member of that starting defensive line and he puts somebody else in, there will be no drop off. There will be no drop off. And I don't know if he can say that right now. And so what I'm telling you is I know these two things are going to happen for that next year's team. He will come with the Shannon Sharp type wide receivers next year. And he will come with a more ferocious and tenacious defensive line next year. A deeper defensive line.
So right now, it's looking like it's going to be a shootout between Jackson State and FAMU. Jackson State has the advantage for being at home.
Yeah, I think they could have an advantage for being at home.
Especially if that, yeah. So that's just it right there. It's Jackson State versus FAMU. We do have to go play in Alabama State. FAMU has to go play at Alabama State, and we do have to go play in Bethune. But other than that, it's Jay White says Alabama A&M is winning the East. So well, if all hearts and minds are clear, I think that, you've made your point. You think that FAMU should return back to the Orange Blossom Classic,
Oh, without a doubt.
and
Not only should they return back to the Orange Blossom Classic, they should consider revitalizing the Bowl City Classic. In other words, playing in Jacksonville.
you say playing in Jacksonville.
Yes, they used to have a classic there called the Bowl City Classic. I'm trying to think who discontinued that. Uh, that went on for years.
Well, I will say this: they had a lot of penalties, like little knick-knack penalties. So that's just to be expected with the first couple of games. But you know what I thought was interesting, Mr. Ford? You did say
Mhm.
that a lot of teams are going to utilize the dual threat quarterback system, but then you were not happy about seeing it today. You said earlier in the season or the preseason that a lot of coaches are going to utilize a dual quarterback system and just feeling out how the quarterbacks are. But then today,
Well, I
when
thought it was
you were,
misused today because it was obvious the body kid needed to be on the field. Okay, even in that chaos and confusion, this guy scores 2 touchdowns. He runs for 100 and what was it 135? How many yards did he gain today on the run on the rushing?
he had, let me go look that up. Body had 15 attempts for 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. His
Yeah,
longest rush was 39 yards.
yeah. So I'm saying he's your threat. He's keeping you in the game, and you got him on the bench. No, I didn't get that.
Yeah, we shall see. All right, Mr. Ford and Jay, it's time for me to go to bed.
Listen,
I'm
you've
gonna
had a
come back.
long day.
I'm gonna come back here on probably.
So what was the attendance today?
Oh Lord, why y'all want to talk about attendance? Don't
I
have
I
me
saw
was
over
asking
here
about
reading it
attendance.
out.
I saw a report that said it was like 10,000.
10,000. I'm just. This is me doing my journalistic duties. 10,256. There
Hmm.
was a lot of rain.
Yeah,
I'm
that was a
talking about
rain delay,
when
right?
I
Wasn't it?
talk about rain. So no, it was raining, and people are like, "Oh, that's not gonna keep anybody from coming." It's a difference between you already at the game and it starts raining versus it pours down raining on your way there. You just like forget it because it's pouring down rain and you have to walk to the stadium versus you already being there. Like when Jackson State had those instances happen, it didn't start raining until we got in there. So it was around, I want to say like 12:45. It started pouring down so hard it was ridiculous, like torrential rains, and it did that. And then it there was a weather delay. They couldn't get on there and practice, and then it was sprinkling, then it was kind of drizzling, and then it came back again. I was like, good lord. So Could that have affected attendance? Well, I don't know if I'm planning on going to the game and it's 1 o'clock and I'm getting ready to head over there at like 2. I'm not going to the game for the way it was raining. That's not an excuse, but it was a lot of rain. If I wasn't there and I walked outside the house and it was raining like that, I would have turned right back around and watched it on TV. Um, but I do think it's important to also realize that the number of views and viewership is also important. So this was a really big game that a lot of people were watching that are not in HBCU. I'm telling you right now, this must have been a game where you could sports bet on it. There was like 3,500 people on a YouTube channel watching this game, and they are not from HBCU. I was like, what? They was betting on the game, Mr. Ford.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that, like you said, I'm hoping that the corporate sponsors renew and decide to do it another year, and then FAMU finds someone that they feel is comparable to this Orange Blossom Classic.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to renegotiate terms that they like, right? Or they'll probably meet them in the middle somewhere for what they want to be offered.
Well, I think the biggest problem was the original big girl, as you like to call her, but she's no longer in place. So I think it gets done, and possibly Jacksonville gets done.
You know, the people who, like, let's not act like she just pulled out like on her own accord. They wanted more money, and she wasn't the only one that was requesting more money, and they didn't want to give it. I think it was strategic for her to pull out, right? Because it's going to be similar to Jackson State and Tennessee State in the Southern Heritage Classic, where you pull out from a game for FAMU, they just didn't renew their contract, and you let someone else come there so that you can see what it's like without that team being there. And after you look at how it is, then from there, you can basically have a bargaining chip. Let me look and see what the attendance was last year to the Orange Blossom Classic. What was the attendance? So it says that the Deion Sanders effect was demonstrated last season as attendance dropped from 40,000 in 2022 to roughly 24,000. But so actually it's been really reducing. So it was 24,967 last year. And then they're saying the year before that it was 40,000. But there's a couple of things. One of them being everybody is not getting ready to keep, if you have the same teams going, which is Florida A&M and Jackson State, everybody's not going to keep going to Miami every year. And last year we had the MEAC SWAC Challenge in Atlanta the week prior to Miami. And that was a very affordable trip for a lot of people to drive to Atlanta and then drive back. Like Atlanta is definitely an affordable trip. Miami, that's not a place you can't get to. Well, you can drive there, but that's a long drive. So I think a lot of people are blaming the Deion effect on it, when in reality, it's just Miami is a very expensive city.
Yeah, it is. But I
And you
think that
wanted for Jackson State to keep going. There's a lot there. Florida A&M has a lot of alums in Miami.
yeah, I believe that the other thing is I think it should be a later game. I don't like the 3 o'clock start. I think it should be at least
6
7
o'clock.
o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Yeah, that's
Well, the way the
that's-
rain delay happened, it was about 6 or 7 o'clock. Shoo. That was a long game. And some Flacco Ant said, folks not about to go to Miami every year. People showed up to the Southern Heritage Classic every year because it's down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And that's facts. Like that Memphis trip, that's literally you have 4 homegirls in the car. In that at that point in time, everybody you bring $5 for gas each. So that's $20 worth of gas. That's a round trip. You bring $20 for your ticket and $20 to $25 for some food. You're gonna go to the tailgate, you're gonna eat for free anyway. Just don't drink no omega oil. Don't be doing all that. And you're gonna have a good time for the Southern Heritage Classic.
Oh yeah.
Miami, them drinks is like $25.
So you think that Jackson's gonna go back to the Southern Heritage?
Stay tuned. Just give me my money.
Oh yeah.
Just give me my money. If the money's right, of course. Why wouldn't we? You just gotta give us. You gotta pay us, right? Pay us our worth. So, and you know what? I guarantee you, the first year that Jackson State goes back, I'm guessing there's going to be probably 50,000 people there.
I agree with you. I'd agree with on that.
There's going to be 50,000. Like, oh my gosh, the Southern Heritage Classic is back.
No, Whitley, we're not saying that.
We're gonna be on Beale Street. Stay tuned.
No, don't say that.
There, I'm pretty sure that they'll be ready to. Well, right now it's on HBCU Go, but it's gonna be like the wheels are definitely gonna churn if Jackson State returns, and then Tennessee State can be done being mad at us because they were really upset about that.
Yeah, you're right. Because my niece and the those were loved it when they would go to Jackson. I mean, go to Memphis to play Jackson. They look forward to that. I have a niece at Tennessee State, and they were really upset. Well, they blamed Deion Sanders. That was
Good. I'm glad they
messed
put
it
the
up.
blame on the right person.
Yeah,
That's
they
good.
blamed it on Deion.
Yeah, and so that's why I don't want people to say it was a Deion effect. It wasn't a Deion effect. Going to Miami for Labor Day one time, that's good. Going every single year, no. Okay, tell them we need to clear a milli, a milli, a milli, a milli, a milli, a milli. We need to take home a bag. Jordan says that they should do a home and home instead, but Tennessee State is not going to travel to Jackson.
They don't have a
fan base.
Right. They haven't had a fan base in 35 years.
Where do they find the fan base at in Memphis?
Those people come from all over the Southeast and the North. There were people from Atlanta that went to that game for, I know, 10, 15 years in a row. There were people that came down from Chicago for that game, St. Louis.
It's always
Jackson.
the third week of September. It was the third.
Yeah, but I'm saying because of the location, people came from all over the country for that game. I know people came in.
Oh, okay. So they're basically saying that Mississippi locals come. The fan base is mostly. I know Jackson State must be the one that's bringing the 25,000.
Yeah, Jackson was the bell cow. Yeah, that's why that thing will probably never get above 25,000 with it, because who is it? It's Tennessee State and who? Pine Bluff.
Yeah.
Who's in the game in Memphis?
UAPB. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'll never get above 25,000. Because initially they tried to do that game without Jackson State. It didn't work.
They might be ready to come to the table and make sure that our pockets are lined so that when we leave, yeah, you might pay for the expenses, you'll pay for the band, you'll pay for everything, but we need to walk away in the clear with at least $450,000 to $500,000, right? I think that if Jackson State was able, and when I say clear, I mean like By the way, the money is in the bank, meaning after the driver is paid, the bus, the hotel accommodations, after we check out and settle all of those bills, that we're up 550 to 600,000 because we make so much money um, for the city of Memphis. I wouldn't be surprised if the city of Memphis looked at the drastic decrease and the
Hmm.
change because they know how much money they've been making every year and
Oh yeah.
say, hey, we need to offer them. Thank you, Miss Sweeney.
Well, I know that
Um,
Atlanta made about 35 or
I will
40
ask
million
that
this weekend.
question tomorrow, Miss Sweeney. I got you. For Coach TC, I have you. I will be on that call.
Let me see if I can find that tweet. Hold on.
I would watch Tennessee State. They got a name. You think Tennessee State gonna be good this year, Mr. Ford?
You mean in the OPC?
No, just period.
I got to see them. I haven't seen them. Now, they played Mississippi Valley. I didn't, I don't know if they were on ESPN Plus. I have to check. Um, I don't know. I think some people didn't blue them pick them to win
So
the,
Draylon
oh,
Ellis was 21 of 33 for
uh,
passing yards for 356 yards,
okay.
3 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Right.
But like you said, I don't know if you can necessarily you can't necessarily take this particular game and then just be like, oh yeah, Tennessee State is that type. You know they play North Dakota State next weekend.
Yeah. 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 I knew that. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what that looks. Now they come to Nashville or do they go to North Dakota?
They gotta go all the way to North Dakota. You know
Okay.
North Dakota's mad that they lost to Colorado. They gonna put 80 up on them.
Yeah, they're gonna find out about their program. They'll find out about their program and where they are.
Miss Tyra Lynn says in 2021, when my family went to OBC, our plane was full of people wearing Jackson State merch to and from Miami. Jackson State does travel and they travel well, giving credit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm quite sure they want to get them back into Memphis.
That was, yeah. So I'm excited. Stay tuned because I might be heading over there to Grambling, Louisiana, Mr. Ford. I'm gonna
And
have to stop at that chicken shack by the train tracks, right?
yeah, yeah. Now now which game? Who are they playing when you go?
Jackson State.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's gonna be a big game. Is that a night game?
Yep.
Oh, that's gonna be. You know what? You right, K Boy 81. You know what? That game probably needed to be in Shreveport because that should be a big game. Grambling against Jackson State. That game probably should have been in Shreveport.
Mm.
Yeah. They used to have a big classic years ago. It was Grambling and Alcorn. I think it was called the Red River Classic or something like that. That's was back in the 80s. It
A
was called the Red
Grambling
River.
class?
Yeah, it was Grambling and Alcorn. They would meet in Shreveport, Louisiana. They called it the Red River Classic, I think. Hey, you Alcorn guys, get the older guys. Don't y'all remember that? That was back in the 80s. It was Grambling against Alcorn, and they called it the Red River Classic, and they would meet up in Shreveport. Anybody on here
Okay.
remember that?
Do you hear that? Red River Classic. Alcorn
Yeah, it
versus
was.
Grambling.
This was back in the 80s, right? It was at Independence Stadium. This was back. You old heads like me, y'all remember that, right? Yeah, they probably should have put that game that Jackson State and Grambling should have played in Shreveport. They should have probably had that at Independence Stadium.
They used to have a HBCU New York Football Classic. Wow.
Oh
Lewis
man,
Cruz Classic.
yeah, but that New York that used to be called the Whitney Young. Oh, that's the first black college game I saw on television through ABC. Used to have something called the Wide World of Sports. Now I'm aging myself now. Anybody remember that Wide World of Sports? And I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
Jackson State play Morgan State on television. This was like 1970. That's the first time I saw two black institutions play football on television.
They got the fount. So this is which I can copy and paste for you guys, and I think it is a great article to take a look at, which is every HBCU classic. It's history of every HBCU football classic on NCAA.com. They talk about the Red Tails Classic in Montgomery, Alabama, Fort Valley State versus Tuskegee, the Fountain City Classic,
Oh yeah,
which took place
that's
in
big here in
1989.
Georgia. Yeah, that's really big.
Down East Viking Football Classic.
Okay, them boys, you right. Thrill of victory. What's his name? Was it Al Simpson? We used to always watch. Ali was on there always. That's right. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. That's right. It was called Wide World of Sports. And one day they showed the Whitney Young Classic, and it was Grambling versus Morgan State. They played at Yankee Stadium. That had to be 1970, I think.
They have the Eddie C. McGirt Classic.
Yeah, McGurk
Eddie
is
C.
somebody.
McGirt.
He was a
It's in
coach at.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
I'm
The
trying to
team
think.
is
Was McGurk the coach at Morgan State? Where was he coaching at? Because he was dominant, man. That guy was something
that's
else.
just the team. The team says Johnson C. Smith, and the first game was in 2013.
Okay.
Um, Pelican Bowl in New
Yeah,
Orleans.
I remember the Pelican Bowl. That was Grambling and somebody, and
Willard.
Grambling was playing. Huh?
These are interesting. They have a lot of D2 schools in here too, like the Willard Bailey Classic in Richmond, Virginia for the
Yeah, I
Virginia
remember. I
Union.
remember coach. I wonder is he's still living in it. Willard Bailey, is he still living? He used to be a very successful coach at Norfolk State. He's still living, right?
I don't know.
Hey, Mr.
I know
Moore,
that
put
they
in
have
Willard Bailey and see if he's still living.
Willard
Bailey.
Bailey.
Yeah, I think he should be still living. He was a very successful coach at Norfolk State football.
He's born in June 3rd, 1939.
Yeah, he was a year after my mother.
He passed away in July of 2024. Oh no, that's not him. It says I think he's still
Yeah, I
living.
think he's still. I hadn't heard nothing. Yeah, I think he's still living.
Yeah, he's the former head football coach for Virginia Union,
And Norfolk, right?
Norfolk State.
Yeah, that's him. Willard Bailey. He was really good. Yeah, man, that's from way back.
Okay, then they have, of course, the Chicago Football Classic, the
Oh yeah.
fifth quarter classic. Dang, the fifth quarter classic. Tuskegee defeated Jackson State 33-7 in 2017. I didn't know that was called a classic, the fifth quarter classic.
And who was that now? Who played in that?
Jackson State, Tuskegee, Florida A&M, and Jackson State, the fifth quarter classic in Mobile, Alabama.
Hey, you know what I was thinking about? What you think about Willie Simmons at Hampton University? Because they gonna be looking for a coach, and they'll pay him whatever he wants.
I don't think that um, Coach wants to come back to SWAC. I mean, not SWAC. I don't think he wants to come back to an HBCU.
I think if they pay him, he'll come back.
like a isn't that kind of like a step back? Like, so for
Hey,
instance, I
if
don't
they pay
understand. I'm not
him
gonna
that
say I don't
salary, he'll come back.
know, but I'm saying like, why is it that folks are in an uproar about like, oh, um, you need for the SWAC or MEAC or any other HBCU, like when coaches leave, they elevate, only for them to come back to HBCUs after saying how this is so good and this should be like this and this should be like that. And we don't have to worry about these things at a PWI, only for them to come back to HBCU. I
Yeah,
don't
but
understand it.
I'm thinking that with Hampton probably looking for a new coach, I'm quite sure they're gonna heavily consider Willie Simmons.
He's a front runner. Okay.
I think they'll definitely consider him. And if he wants $500,000, I can see them paying him $500,000
$500,000 for
a year.
Hampton.
Yeah, I can see it. A 450.
$450,000.
Would that make him the highest paid black coach?
I think that would make him the highest paid coach in all of FCS, not just black coach.
Well, if they offer him that, I think they'll get him. They'll get him.
Lord have mercy. Is he going to give all of his coaching staff an opportunity? The thing is, if you're going to pay your coach $450,000 a year, you have to also be ready to pay his staff too. Not just the coach,
that's true.
the staff too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that will be the conclusion of the show. I will see y'all on Thursday. There is no SWAC football or MEAC football, not that I noticed, on Thursday night. Or excuse me. Yeah, I didn't see any games. So I'll see y'all on Thursday night.
Okay, have a good night now.
Y'all have a good night. And when it comes to the football, the state of our football, and these coaches and their play
How you
calling,
gonna fix it? You done messed me up to death with business. I done called the police because I'm doing a refund. A refund is due unto me. Don't feel like I just been abused out here today. God ain't pleased like this. You can't do the saints like this. Boy, I don't even know if I'm gonna sit out here till the police come. I'm gonna sit out here till the police come. I'm doing refund. Cause I'm doing one to me.
y'all have a good night.
Good night.
All right, have a good one.
All right, Ron, this is your big chance here. Let's go to the Lake Charles Toyota sideline report. Give us the best dog description you got.
Dr. Wilder has just given me $10 to go out and tackle the dog. I'm holding out for 20.
Here we go. And the dog has run from